Greetings, MED cohort. This is Louise giving you a little video introduction to our week 4 topic and assignment. Before I do that, I just want to say that both Meg and I have enjoyed very much getting to know you through your postings and your dialogue with each other and with us and your assignments, and we're really delighted to be part of your cohort for this course. So this is, as I said, an introduction to week 4. I've got the video showing the part of the Moodle site for week 4. And up till this point, we've spent some time talking about really 3 weeks about how people learn and how we should design instruction for how they learn, how the brain works. We talked about during the first week of the course. We talked about visible thinking and the idea of project-based learning during week 2. Then we looked at Wiggins and McTeague's theory of understanding by design, a really backward design, starting from the point of what do you want students to truly understand from your teaching, and then how do we design instruction to reach that goal. And now we're going to spend the last 3 weeks of the course also looking at now some models of schools that are implementing some of these things that we've learned about how people learn, or at least that's their goal, and have you look at some school designs and models that that we know of and that you can look into through their websites. Now, also some video of some places, and then you'll be writing a couple of final assignments on these ideas. So now we're going to, for week 4, we're going to introduce this idea of school reform and some new school models. One of the things that led to this topic when the course originally was being organized was a sabbatical that I had taken on the idea of school reform, and that I did some travel around the country visiting school models all over the country, and then wrote an article about them and have been kind of presenting about it ever since. So you'll see here in the assignment for week 4, one of the things you're going to do is read an article that came from that sabbatical study and talks about some of the places that I went, but also the summation of the ideas, the things that I learned about schools, the culture, as I call it, the power of culture and passion that I discovered through visiting those school models. Then you'll see a PowerPoint that is kind of a long one this time. It's over an hour that you can watch in chunks if you want to. You can also speed up the PowerPoint. I don't know if you've noticed that, but if you want to make it go a little faster, you can. But it is a narrated PowerPoint on, again, the places that I visited, the schools that I saw, the models that I studied, and a summary of what those are. And then kind of the reason for this video is to introduce you to the assignment for next week, which is what we're calling a web quest. And basically it is a review of, I'm going to be giving you a list of quite a few websites on these schools, individual schools, and some school models, and then you get to skim those if you want to. You'll see some of them in the PowerPoint, but then you will be asked to write a paper on 3 of them that you choose. So let me see. I'm going to go to the assignment, click on the assignment for this web quest, and we'll go through it a little bit. So you'll be asked to pick 3 websites or 3 school models that you will then write about in a paper for week 4. This is a little bit bigger assignment. I think we said before this is worth 1.5 times what the first 3 weeks assignments were. So it's a little bit more involved, a little bit longer, but I think it should be fun. I hope it'll be fun for you because you get to kind of look at some school models. And I should just say, as a quick preview of your final paper in week 6, you'll be asked to write a paper about your ideal school model. If you could design a school and or a classroom or a model of doing school as you would ideally like it to be, that's the assignment for week 6. And therefore, some of the things you look at this week and existing school models may become something that triggers some ideas for you for that paper. So first of all, I'm going to just run through what the assignment is going to be and what we're going to ask you to do with each of the 3 models. So in the assignment, it lists basically 7 features or 7 questions that we're going to ask you to write about in this paper. about each of the models that you look at. First of all, just describe it. Now, we're only asking you to do 1.5 to 2 pages on each, so obviously you're not going to get into long, detailed descriptions of any of them. You're also free, if you wish to, depending on your kind of learning style or what works for you in presenting. If you wanted just to create a table that contained all these elements, do it in a table or some other visual form, that would be acceptable as well. But we want you to cover these 7 things for each of the schools that you're going to look at. First of all, describe the approach, the philosophy, the educational model. What is it that this school says it is doing, and why? And do they have a vision? And is it a clear vision? And what is the vision, and what's the philosophical foundation around it? Is it a project-based learning school? Do they believe in that? If so, is that a clear vision, and how and why did they choose that? Third thing that we want you to look at is, how does what we know and have studied and read about how people learn, and theories of instruction and theories of learning, how does that fit with this model? Does it in fact support some of the things we know about how people learn? Fourth thing is just a description of the school day and the school year. Some of these models have longer school days, some of them have fewer days a week, some of them have longer academic years, some of them cluster the learning into larger blocks of time for certain topics or do different things. Some of them take time out during the school year to go on extended field trips. So how is the year organized? Then what are the demographics of the students? Are they urban? Is it an urban setting? Is it multicultural? Is there diversity? What are the demographics of the students? What are the ages and grades and that kind of thing? Then what kind of evidence do they have for the success of their model? How do they show you that what they're attempting to do works? Is it just test scores? Is it other kinds of things? Is it what students do after they leave? Graduation rates? So what is the evidence that they present as to why their model is working? And then a personal question for you. Are there features about this model that you like? Are there things that you didn't like about it particularly? And why? Why are you drawn to this particular model? Likely most of you will choose models that you like for some reason and can talk about, but we want you to just explain why you think this is something that you were drawn to or not, as you studied it a little bit further. All right, so then just a quick look at the list of models and schools that are here. Now, if you were to find some models other than what are on this list, you are also welcome to either ask us if it's okay to use, or go ahead and use it if you think it's a unique model that, we haven't included every model of doing school that exists, but we've given you, I think, a fairly good description and variety of types. Now, most of these are unique in that they're either individual school models, or they are models of a group of schools. They're a theoretical model, and they have several schools that are under this particular philosophy of teaching and learning. And so there's a mixture on this list of those. So let me just give you a couple examples. So Fenway High School is the first one on the list. This is an individual school in Boston, Massachusetts, and started by what was then called the Coalition of Essential Schools. It's an organization that started primarily charter schools, which you probably know, but if you don't know, charter schools are all public schools. They're individual public schools, so they're not necessarily part of a huge school district. Although in this case, Fenway High School is integrated into the Boston public school system. But the Coalition of Essential Schools, which no longer exists as an organization, but was beginning or forming schools to help kids learn individually according to their strengths, and then to and a lot of it was project-based learning and individual. Mission Hill School, by the way, is an elementary school also in Boston that is kind of linked to Fenway, same kind of philosophy, and you can see they focus on habits of mind. Then there's some groups of schools. So, for example, Expeditionary Learning is a model of schools that In fact, Meg Cavalier's school in St. Paul is, at least initially, was under this model school of expeditionary learning. It's a model that started out of Outward Bound, where students were spending time in summers exploring various parts of the country, geographical places, places of nature, and learning from them. And expeditionary learning is a model that came out of that. Now, it isn't all about going out and studying things in nature. It's a lot of things, but it is the idea of exploring and creating an expedition of learning and making your learning based on something you're interested in. All right, some of these others you can go down and see. Met School is also an urban-based school. They now have a large group of schools around the country. International Baccalaureate, you probably know about. That's a model of school that's integrated into many public schools around the country. High Tech High started in San Diego, California. They now have a network of schools. Many of them are project-based, and their model also goes into elementary, is now at elementary and middle school levels too. So you can see there's a list of websites, all of which you can look at and read about. Rivers Edge Academy right here is Meg's school. You are welcome to go on their website and write about Rivers Edge Academy, and I'm sure ask her any questions that you have about it. Northwest Passage High School is also a local school in the Twin Cities, north of Twin Cities in Coon Rapids. That's a project-based school as well. So go ahead and look through what these are about. This table down here is just a grading table, so that's not really something you need to do or look at. A couple of foundations that are also engaged in educational reform you can look at. If you find a school or something in there you want to write about one of those, you're welcome to do that too. So that is basically the introduction for the assignment for this week, or this coming week, week number 4 of the course. If you have any questions, feel free to email me and or Meg. And we look forward to hopefully you enjoying this opportunity to learn from school models around the country and around the world actually that are interesting. So we will be in touch.